National Party gained power in South Africa in 1948, the all-white government began enforcing policies of racial segregation. This system of legislation is known as apartheid. Under laws of apartheid, non-white South Africans were forced to live in separate areas and use separate facilities. Contact between races was very limited, and it stayed this way for nearly 50 years until leaders such as Nelson Mandela decided to repeal the long-standing legislation. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, into the Madiba clan in a village in South Africa. As a child, Mandela listened to the stories of his ancestors' valor during the wars of resistance. He hoped to one day change the world and contribute to the freedom struggle of his people. In the early 1940s, Mandela became increasingly involved in the anti-apartheid movement. He joined the African National Congress in 1942. A small group of African Americans within the ANC formed a group known as the African National Congress Youth League. Believing that polite petitioning was ineffective, Mandela and others adopted methods of boycott, strike, civil disobedience, and non-cooperation. For 20 years, Mandela directed peaceful, nonviolent acts of defiance against South African legislation. The 1952 Defiance Campaign was based on non-cooperation against racially discriminatory laws unless these laws were repealed before March 1, 1952. The 1955 Congress of the People was held in Kliptown on June 26, 1955, to lay out the vision of South African people. The Freedom Charter was the statement of principles that became the declaration of policy for the ANC.
In South Africa, the methods which the people are using to oppose apartheid and racial discrimination are determined by the government. Where the government talks peacefully, wants to solve problems by peaceful means, talks to the oppressed, it would be very difficult for them to turn to violence. But when the government bans political organizations, bans political activities, paralyzes individuals by imposing bans on them, and intensifies oppression, and carries on a brutal suppression of all political activities, what do you expect us to do?
With no military training, Mandela traveled to places such as Ethiopia and Algeria, seeking financial and practical aid. When Mandela finally convinced the ANC to follow him, he co-founded the organization Umkhonto we Sizwe. They focused on attacking the South African government. They targeted police stations and power plants, carefully avoiding taking human lives. Mandela insisted that Umkhonto we Sizwe would not kill people but would be aimed at sabotage. The organization carried out multiple operations. It is estimated that the High Command coordinated over 190 acts of sabotage between October 1961 and July 1963. A study done estimated that there were 150 attacks between 1976 and 1982. They damaged railways and government buildings with the intention of wreaking havoc on the government of South Africa. Mandela did not intend to resort to violent means. Only when he realized that the white government would not listen to him, he decided that it was time to take a more radical direction.
There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
When banned by the South African government, Mandela developed a scheme to establish the ANC's organization on a street-based system. This was known as the M Plan. In 1964, Mandela and 8 others were tried for treason at Rivonia and sent to prison for life. Even when offered freedom, Mandela refused to renounce his beliefs.
When you see that the end of your days has come, to live a tradition of bravery, determination to face even death.
Mandela remained in jail for 27 years. Even while in prison, he received continual support from his followers.
They were very harsh. And then I whispered to my colleagues that, look, we must fight right from the beginning. They must know what type of men we are right from the beginning.
On February 11, 1990, After 27 years in prison, Mandela was finally set free. As he marched down the street with his wife, he gave African American people a refreshed sense of hope for equality.
Today, the majority of South Africans, black and white, recognize that apartheid has no future. It has to be ended by our own decisive mass action in order to build peace.
In 1994, South Africa participated in their first election. Mandela was the first democratically elected president. He also became the first African American president. Mandela made his country an exciting place to be. He collected international honors, including more than 50 honorary doctorates from universities around the world. But through his charitable foundation in Johannesburg, he also mobilized funds for education, poverty reduction, and the suddenly pressing fight against HIV and AIDS.
Time for the healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us.
The Nobel Peace Prize of 1993 was awarded to Nelson Mandela and Frederick Willem de Klerk for their work for the peaceful termination of the apartheid regime and for laying the foundations for a new democratic South Africa. Mandela accomplished a rare and historic feat of uniting a strongly divided country. South Africans, as well as people all around the world, remember Nelson Mandela as the freedom fighter who would not give up, who would not give in, and who would never stop fighting for what he believed in. His leadership in these difficult times helped him to create a legacy that would last forever.
But my Lord, if it need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.